In this section, we would be examining the relationships between buyers and their suppliers. And we will be looking at why the retailer buying from its suppliers through the buyer is quite not like the customers buying from that retailer. Suppose you're a buyer for ice cream and you want to buy a particular flavor for a particular event, say Christmas, and you do not see yourself selling that particular flavor, or rather your customers buying that flavor beyond that Christmas event. Hence, you have identified your engagement with the identified supplier as a single touchpoint relationship where you would be buying only one time for this particular event. Hence, your focus in dealing with this supplier would be on extracting the lowest cost from this supplier, whether it be by hook or by crook. A hook might be that you might promise this supplier more future business that you are not really sure about at the present. A crooked method might be that you promise on payment terms that you do not mean to respect. From the supplier's end, he also sees this relationship as a single touchpoint relationship, and his focus is going to be on extracting the highest price from you, the buyer, and ensuring that he gets the payment in time. Since he sees this relationship as a one-time relationship only, he would also be having less scruples in how he achieves his objectives. Hence, he would also try to extract the highest price from you by hook or by crook. A hook might be that to get the payment in time, he offers you very attractive discounts if you make the payment in advance. A crooked method to get more money from you might be that he might charge you for a full point-to-point truck delivery to your distribution center, while he means to share that truck between other retailers also. Hence, we can see that since both the parties do not see a future in this relationship, they are focused on their ends of the deal only and are unwilling to cooperate. But now suppose your customers really like the flavor and you see the possibility of selling this flavor all through the year. How would your relationship with the supplier change then, and how would his relationship with you change accordingly? Hence, we can see that the relationship between a buyer and his supplier is not quite like the relationship that we have with our retailers. When we, the customers, shop at a particular retailer, our shopping trip is independent of all the shopping trips we might have done with that particular retailer earlier. We might very well go to another retailer and get the same items at the same deals as the earlier retailer. This is not largely true for retailers and their suppliers. Their relationship is a lot more complicated because both need each other for the future growth of their business. The retailer is ultimately a middleman for his suppliers. He depends upon his suppliers for the range of items that he keeps in the stores, the quality of these items, the price at which he can sell them, and the availability of these items on his shelf. From the supplier's end, the supplier needs the retailer as a channel to sell his goods. He also needs a retailer to provide him the adequate knowledge about his customers so that he can improve his product and marketing strategies accordingly. Also, there's an important difference between the retailer selling to the customers and the supplier selling to the retailer. When the retailer sells to the customers, he gets the cash immediately, whereas the supplier gets the cash after some time. Hence, the supplier is dependent upon his retailers on the payments he has received for the items that he has delivered. Note, not all retailers respect the payment terms of the suppliers to the same degrees. In that respect, some retailers are good retailers for the suppliers and others not so good, where he has to constantly chase them to pay for what they have already received from him. Hence, we can see that the relationship between a buyer and a supplier is a lot more complicated and in fact is a symbiotic relationship. A retailer can only exist if his suppliers are there, and a supplier can only exist if the retailers are there. Both depend upon each other on their survival and future business. Let us examine how this relationship develops as their engagement increases. When the number of touch points between the retailer and the supplier are less, that is, the retailer buys from the suppliers less frequently, and the size of the transactions is less, that is, he does not buy in very big lots, the nature of the engagement is more transactional, and such an engagement is what is commonly called as the adversarial relationship. An adversarial relationship is characterized by low trust, where both the parties do not trust the other party to tell them the entire truth, just like they themselves are not telling the entire truth. As a result, there is less information sharing between the supplier and the retailer because both believe that the other party is smart enough to do its calculations and extract more benefits from them if they share that information. For example, a retailer might not tell the supplier that it does not mean to promote its item heavily and hence extract a lower cost from the supplier. On the other side, the supplier might not reveal his true distribution cost to the retailer to extract a higher price from him. Hence, because of this lack of trust, both the parties are less willing to support each other beyond this transaction, and their focus is on their own benefit only, whether, as we have seen, it be by hook or by crook, because they do not fear to be discovered later on, because they are confident that even if the other party discovers the true facts later, it would not impact their business because the size of their relationship is too small in the context of their overall business. Hence, an adversarial relationship is characterized by low trust, less information sharing, and less empathy. When the number of transactions between the retailer and the supplier increase, and so does the size of these transactions, the relationship evolves from an adversarial to a barometric relationship. A barometer essentially measures the atmospheric pressure. In the same way, both the parties in this relationship recognize the benefit of doing business with each other, and while they maintain a cautious approach, they also develop more empathy for the other party and are always monitoring and measuring the needs of the other party and might yield to a pressure here and there. but it remains an uneasy relationship because both the parties know that the other party is looking over their shoulders and hence are still covering their assets and not sharing all the information with the other party. To put the nature of these relationships in the perspective of human relationships, while adversarial relationships might be said to be like one-night stands, a barometric relationship is more like seeing the other party. While it might flourish into a marriage at a future date, it is also likely that it might break up. Lastly, when the number of touch points between the supplier and the retailer and the size of their transactions increases to the extent that they become vital to each other's business, their nature of business also changes. From transactional, it becomes strategic. Such a relationship is called a collaborative relationship. A collaborative relationship is when the suppliers and the retailers are aligned on their values and their focus is not only on piecemeal transactions but a shared vision of their business together. As the size of the global retailers has increased over the past few decades to rival the size of the global manufacturers, and with the development of adequate technology, the collaborative model of supplier-retailer relationship has gained more and more traction.